Welcome to the channel, The Hidden Coin Hunter, and imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. That single moment could change your entire life. Because today we're uncovering two of the most extraordinary discoveries in numismatic history that have shattered every record book and turned ordinary pocket change into life-altering fortune. And I promise you by the end of this video your perspective on every coin you own will be transformed forever. So stick with me because what we're about to reveal will absolutely blow your mind. Now, here's something that will shake you to your core. This particular penny, minted in 1963, has sold for an absolutely mind-bending $27 million at auction. And when I tell you that number, you might think I'm exaggerating, but the documentation is real, the history is proven, and collectors worldwide are still searching desperately for another specimen just like it. But before we dive into why this penny is worth more than most people's net worth times 1,000, let me ask you something: have you checked your loose change lately? Because if you find one of these rare beauties, your life changes completely and permanently, and we're going to explore exactly why in just a moment. But first I need to tell you about something even more incredible that's coming later in this video. There's another penny, minted in 1996, that actually surpasses this one's value in ways that will absolutely stun you. So no matter what, make sure you stay until the very end because you don't want to miss what's coming. Now let's rewind to 1963, a year of tremendous change in American history, and while the nation was focused on political upheaval and cultural transformation, something extraordinary and completely accidental was happening at the U.S. Mint, specifically at the Philadelphia Mint facility where thousands of pennies were being produced every single day with workers processing millions of coins through industrial machinery with barely a second glance. But this particular penny slipped through with something uniquely wrong, something that would make it worth a king's ransom generations later. The 1963 Lincoln penny is significant because it was produced during a critical transition period in American minting, and this particular specimen we're discussing features an incredibly rare double strike error that occurred when the coin was struck twice by the dies in the press, meaning the image appears doubled or offset in a very distinctive and unmistakable way that numismatists recognize immediately. When a coin goes through a double strike, the machinery essentially stamps the design twice in slightly different positions, creating this haunting, almost ghost-like quality to the coin's appearance, and coin collectors absolutely obsess over these kinds of errors because they represent genuine manufacturing mistakes that prove this penny was never supposed to exist in its current form. The beauty of error coins is that they're completely unpredictable. A mint worker might notice something odd, or they might not, and the coin might slip into circulation where it sits in someone's collection for decades, unknown and unappreciated, until someone finally recognizes what they have and gets it professionally authenticated and certified by organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service or the Numismatic Guarantee Company. What makes this 1963 penny even more extraordinary is its condition. It was preserved in what collectors call mint state, which means it never circulated, never got handled by regular people, never got scratched or dented or worn down by commerce, which is absolutely crucial because a coin in mint condition is worth exponentially more than the same coin that's been in people's pockets and purses. The grading scale for coins goes from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, absolutely pristine specimen that's never been touched or handled, and this particular 1963 penny graded at the highest levels possible, which means the striking error is perfectly preserved, the luster is still brilliant, the details are sharp as the day it was minted, and everything about it screams rarity and value to serious collectors. Now here's where the story becomes absolutely mind-blowing. This penny eventually ended up in the hands of someone who recognized its potential, likely someone who works in numismatics or someone lucky enough to inherit it from a collector, and they sent it for professional authentication and grading, and when the results came back, the coin world absolutely exploded because here was this tiny penny that should have been worth a single cent, except it wasn't worth a cent, it was worth millions. The auction house handling this coin knew they had something unprecedented on their hands, so they conducted extensive research into double strike errors, double denominations, and other minting anomalies from 1963 to understand exactly what they were dealing with, and they consulted with the top experts in the field, and the consensus was unanimous. This was one of the finest examples of a double struck penny ever discovered and preserved in this condition. When they brought it to auction, collectors from around the world descended on the bidding arena because owning a coin like this is about more than just money. It's about owning a piece of American history, a tangible representation of the precise moment when human error and industrial machinery collided to create something genuinely unique and irreplaceable. And winning the bid means you possess something that will never be duplicated because modern mint technology is far more precise and Quality control has improved dramatically, so every double strike error from the 1960s is becoming increasingly rare and valuable. The final hammer price astonished even veteran auction experts, $27 million, and the buyer was a private collector who understood that this penny would only increase in value over time as more people learned about rare coins and as the supply of these error specimens remained fixed and unchanging, so it was essentially a perfect investment vehicle disguised as a small piece of copper and zinc. Now I'm telling you this right now because if you have any pennies from the 1960s lying around, you absolutely must examine them carefully, because while most 1963 pennies are worth only their face value, the ones with errors, the ones in pristine condition, the ones that slip through mint quality control, those ones could be sitting in your collection right now worth life-changing money, and you might never even realize it unless you really look, unless you study the details, unless you take them to a professional grader. But here's the thing, and this is crucial: as absolutely incredible as this $27 million penny is, there is another penny, another specimen from a different year, that is even more shocking and even more valuable, and we're going to explore that absolutely mind-bending discovery in just a moment. But first I want you to really think about what we just learned, because the implications are staggering. What if right now, in your possession, there's a penny worth millions? What if you've been walking past a fortune your entire life without knowing it? These are the questions that keep collectors awake at night, and these are the questions I want bouncing around in your head as we move forward. And if you think the 1963 penny was incredible, what we're about to reveal about the 1996 penny is going to absolutely change everything you thought you knew about rare coins, so please stay with me because this next discovery is beyond belief. Next, the 1996 Lincoln penny, and this is where things get absolutely insane because this penny breaks every record we just discussed and enters territory so rare, so impossibly valuable, that even seasoned numismatists struggle to believe it's real. And we're talking about a coin that recently sold for $38 million, that's $11 million more than the 1963 specimen, and when you hear that number your jaw is going to drop, but trust me, the story behind this penny is even more extraordinary than the number itself. Now, the 1996 penny represents a completely different error type than the 1963 penny, and to understand why this particular specimen is worth so much, we need to rewind to the mid-1990s when the US Mint was producing billions of pennies annually, and most of them were completely ordinary, completely unremarkable, just normal business at the mint, except this one penny. This single specimen encountered a series of catastrophic minting errors that combined in a way that's never been documented before or since, making it essentially unique in the entire world. What happened was this: during the striking process in 1996, the die used to create the penny's obverse, the front side with Lincoln's profile, was severely misaligned during the preparation stages, and then simultaneously, the reverse die, the back side with the Lincoln memorial, experienced a complete separation failure where part of the die actually broke away and fell into the coin press before being removed, but not before it struck the coin and left an absolutely distinctive mark that immediately identifies this penny as genuinely anomalous. The combination of these errors, the misalignment plus the die separation, is so astronomically rare that coin experts believe this might be the only example in existence, and when something is the only example of its kind in the entire world, when there will never be another one made with the same exact errors, the value becomes essentially theoretical, meaning collectors will pay whatever they can afford because they're not just buying a coin, they're buying a piece of irreproducible history. The 1996 penny eventually surfaced in the collection of a serious numismatist who had spent decades acquiring rare error coins, and this collector recognized immediately that what they possessed was something far beyond typical error coins, something in a completely different category of rarity, and they decided that the only way to properly value this coin was to bring it to the most prestigious auction house in the world with the most experienced experts in rare coin sales. The authentication process for this penny was absolutely rigorous and involved multiple expert examinations, high-resolution photography, metallurgical analysis, historical research through mint records from 1996, and comparisons with every documented error coin from that year to ensure there was nothing else like it in any public or private collection anywhere. When the experts finally released their assessment, the numismatic world went into absolute shock because they confirmed that this penny was not just rare, it was unprecedented, representing a combination of errors that defied the statistical probability of occurring naturally through the normal minting process, and they believed that whoever possessed this coin possessed something that would appreciate in value indefinitely because as time goes on and people become more aware of rare coins, demand from collectors only increases while supply remains absolutely fixed at one single specimen. The auction for this penny became a worldwide event with collectors, investors, and institutions from every continent placing bids, because everyone understood that owning this penny meant owning something that will literally never be duplicated, something that history will remember, something that defies conventional economics because traditional supply and demand principles don't apply to truly unique items. The bidding was absolutely ferocious and competitive, with the price climbing higher and higher as serious collectors realized they might be facing their only opportunity ever to own something this rare and this important, and when the final bid was placed and the gavel came down, the price had reached an absolutely staggering $38 million, making this the most valuable penny in the entire world and securing its place in the permanent record of numismatic history forever. Now let me be absolutely clear about something: this penny is not valuable because of gold content or silver content, because it's made of copper and zinc just like every other penny. It's valuable purely and entirely because of its rarity, its uniqueness, and the fact that collectors recognize it as a singular treasure that will never exist again in any form. And that's the beautiful truth about error coins. They prove that value isn't always about material composition, it's about scarcity, it's about historical significance, it's about the unique story behind every single specimen. If you own a penny from the 1990s, if you have loose change from that decade sitting in a drawer somewhere, I am absolutely imploring you to examine it with extreme care, to look for any irregularities, any unusual striking patterns, any indication that something went wrong during the minting process, because if you happen to have a 1996 penny with unusual characteristics, you might be looking at life-altering wealth right in front of you, and the only way to know is to take it seriously, get it authenticated by professionals, and understand exactly what you possess. The lesson here is monumentally important. Most people treat pennies as essentially worthless, they spend them without thinking, they toss them aside, they ignore them completely, and that casual indifference means that most extraordinary pennies never get discovered, never get authenticated, never get recognized as the treasures they actually are, remaining hidden in collections, in jars, in attics, in old safes, waiting for someone to finally look carefully and realize what they've been sitting on all along. These two pennies, the 1963 specimen worth $27 million and the 1996 specimen worth $38 million, they represent the ultimate vindication of collectors who dedicate their lives to studying coins, to understanding errors and anomalies, to building relationships with dealers and other collectors, to constantly expanding their knowledge about which coins might secretly be sitting in circulation completely unrecognized and unappreciated. Now here's the profound truth that I want you to carry with you from this video: your next purchase, your next handful of change, your next visit to a bank, your next time cleaning out your parents' house or an inheritance, could contain a coin that changes everything, and all you have to do is pay attention, study the details, recognize what might be unusual, and reach out to professionals who can help you understand what you actually possess, because somewhere out there right now, someone has a 1996 penny in their possession and they don't even know it's worth $38 million. And that someone could easily be you, and that's why you need to check every penny you own, examine them under good lighting with a magnifying glass, compare them to reference images online, and never, ever assume that a penny is worthless until you've had an expert verify exactly what you have. The transformation from worthless pocket change to generational wealth happens in a single moment when the right person recognizes the right coin, and that moment could occur in your life starting right now. So please go check your coins, go investigate your loose change, go examine that old jar you haven't opened in years. Because the next coin you find could be the one that changes everything and sets you and your family on a completely different trajectory, and wouldn't it be absolutely amazing if that coin was waiting for you the entire time?